Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool pinball repair video for you this evening. If you've been watching along, we've been working on this Dracula for our buddy Shane, and we've got a second one here. It's such a cool game, we're going to save the second one as well. Of course, we would always save about any game, but Shane had bought two of them, and he wants both of them fixed, so that's what we're going to do. So it's going to be a little bit different because he's going to sell this one, so I think at the end the quality will turn out about the same. There's nothing on it that's really a lot worse than that one, but this is like the second one, right? So the back glass isn't quite as nice. That one we put LED displays in. This one's going to have the original displays, which some people would actually like better. So it just kind of depends. The playfield has some wear, but once we touch it up, it'll look about the same. So we're going to start on. I'm going to go through this one a lot quicker, just because it's literally the exact same one that we just did. So the first thing that we're going to do, we haven't even plugged it in or anything. The first thing we're going to do is I'm going to take this glass off, and we're going to look inside of it, see what the power looks like, and start from there. So we got to work on the power supply first, and then work through the board sets. So hold on tight. This one's going to go quicker. Alright, so I took the glass off. The power cord is in nice shape on this one, as it was on the other one. And then it comes in and it goes to this line filter back here. That is also still in nice original shape. The varistor has not been burnt up yet, so it likely never got hit by lightning or anything. And then the power switch up here was loose. We noticed that on the first video in the series on these Draculas. So I got some screws and put that back in. And so it's mounted properly. I cleaned it up a little bit. Everything looks pretty good in here. Now on the bottom of the playfield while we're in here, I don't see any coils that are burnt up or anything. This one over here is kind of dirty, but I think it's just soot. It's not actually screwed up. And the two flipper coils look pretty good. You need to check that out because you're basically looking for fire. You know, if you're going to make good videos, you got to know how to use the dramatic pause. So there's the coils can really cause problems. So if you've got coils that are screwed up or or shorting together or whatever, a lot of juice runs through those. So that's one of the things that we're looking at the AC coming in, but while we're here we'll look at the coils too. If the switches are screwed up, they're not going to make the machine catch on fire or anything. Okay, so let me pop that back down and we're going to look at the actual power transformer in the back. Everything in the bottom as far as the AC coming in looks fine. Okay, so this is what's left of this thing. The board, the MPU, we actually have in the back. We pulled it out when we were working on the previous one to compare the two. Here is our power transformer. Still has the guard on it. It still has the plastic cover. This cover I actually found on the bottom of the other one as well, so I was able to put this cover back on that one. Ooh, the nasty Stern green stuff. For whatever reason, Stern games get like some green juice on some of the pins. It's some kind of something they put on them or something. I don't know, but it's always on just a couple pins. Very weird. So we're going to pull this sucker out of here. Look at that. Ugh. I wonder if they sprayed it on there or something. It's only on Stern. Never see it on Bally. Never see it on... and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's like some kind of chemical or something. I don't know what it is. But we'll probably end up repinning all these anyway. Let's see if I can get this off without breaking it. You see how you have to pull on these? You can see why the solder joints break on the back of these. Okay, so I'm going to unscrew all of that and take it in the back so we can work on it a little bit and get a little bit better glimpse at it. I see right now that the solenoid fuse is missing from it. So something's blowing that. It may be that left kicker. You saw that one that was dirty looking. Okay, so it's just Phillips screws. We'll take it all out so that we can go look at it on the bench. So here is the transformer. You see where the factory wrote 115 volt on the top of it. They're all the same transformers, they just have different jumpers over here depending on what they're set up for. And then of course here's the outputs. The inputs, the AC coming in also runs through here. But so basically on this board we're just looking for these pins that are burnt all to crap or that have bad solder joints on the back. So we're going to clean these up a little bit and look on the back. Now the fuses, it's always good to check them and see if they're the right value and clean up the fuse holders. But it's usually a pretty, that's a weird looking one there. Oh, that's the little one. It's only a 1/4 amp. It's kind of interesting to see which ones have been changed over the years because it tells you what they had problems with at some points. You could have a bad bridge rectifier. So I'll check those while I'm at it. But these things are a very simple little board, and we've done like 50 videos showing how to work on those, including earlier in this series when we were working on the other Dracula. So if I run into anything interesting, I will let you know. Well, here we sit. The resistor broke. Oh no. Look. It's all corroded looking. Alright, so I could just solder that back together, I guess, but it looks like somebody's already done that. So, this is a 600 ohm resistor, according to the schematics. 600 ohm, but it's like a 10 watt. So, I mean, those are not easy to find. I mean, anywhere near the shop here, I don't know where I would find one of those. But that's like, let's see, that's like 7 inches. Oh, never mind. I had one like 7 inches away. Okay, well, I'll just take this one off and put this one in. Okay, so I checked these 3 bridge rectifiers. They're all fine. However, these 2 diodes are reading shorted. I think that's F2, which is the 3/4 amp fuse, which actually tests fine as well. That's the voltage for the displays. Let me see if the fuse does test fine. Maybe I mistested it. No, I'm wrong. The fuse is blown. Okay. Yeah, so see how it's up in the megs? Shouldn't be like that. A 3/4 amp fuse should be like 3 or 4 ohms at the most. Most fuses should be less than 1 ohm. But a 3/4 amp, basically the juice running through the leads, since it's a 3/4 amp fuse, that provides a bunch of resistance to the leads. It's hard to understand, but I don't completely understand it. But why you, after you do like 100 of them, you start noticing things. Okay, so a couple of these diodes are blown. So I will swap those out. It looks like they're 1N4004s maybe. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. So that fuse is blown. And 2 of these diodes are shorted. So I think I'll just replace all 4 of them. You know, long-term preventative maintenance. So if you look, there's one there, there's one there, there's one there, and there's one there that's already been replaced at some point. That one's still good, but it just shows you if one of them's burning up, and it looks to me like 2 of them are bad. It may just be the way they're arranged, but if 2 of them are bad and one's already been changed, I mean, that just tells you that this one would not be safe to leave. All right, so I put in new ones. I put in 4007s. I just keep those in stock because they'll replace 4001, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7. It's the same part, it's just a higher voltage can run through them. And so the fuse was bad, and 2 of them were shorted, and then the other 2 weren't. If you look at this one, see how the marking is different? So on these, the marking is sideways. On this, it's the other way. Let's see if that's a 4004 or if they put a 7 in there as well. 4004. Okay. It's just the voltage that it blocks. But it's by this point, a 4007 is the same price or maybe even a little cheaper than a 4004. And it's universal for all of them. I used to keep in 2 or 3 different ones, and then I started thinking, this is crazy, because they're only like, literally, you can get them for 3 or 4 cents, depending on where you buy them and how many you buy. So my fuse is bad, so I'm going to have to find another fuse. So 3/4 amp slow blow, that's kind of, you know, that's kind of hard to track something like that down anywhere near my shop. Oh, wait a minute. Look, there's one. It's like 2 inches away from it. Let me get one of these out here. That'll get me going again. All right. So let me carefully test this one-handed. I've been a little, I got my nerves acting up tonight too. Test point 1, 6.2 volts DC. I don't remember what that's for. Test point 2, 185 volts, that's for the displays. Test point 3, 12 volts, that's the voltage that gets filtered back down to 5 volts. We're going to skip 4. Test point 5, 45, that's our solenoid voltage. And now we're going to go back to test point 4. AC, 7.3 volts AC, that's the voltage for the lamps, the general illumination. It's a little high, probably because it's set on 115 volts. We should probably change it to 120 volts. Right? So right now, lugs 1 and 3 are soldered together, and the red wire is running to them. And 9 and 11 are soldered together, and the yellow wire is running to them. If you move the yellow wire to 5 and 7 and solder 5 and 7 together, that sets it on 120. By doing that, it kind of lowers all of the output voltages, because we've got like 125 volts in the wall here. So we've got 125 going in, but we're telling it it's 115 going in. So it's, yeah, no, it's not ideal. So I'll probably end up redoing that. So I've got to redo that, and I have to repin some of these connectors. You can see they're just, really, it's just kind of dirt. They're not really that bad where it sits like this. But see how this is yellowed? That one has gotten hot over the years. So that's next. I need to repin that, and then we may go ahead and do that jumper thing on the transformer. I forgot to do it when I had it on the bench. It's a little easier to do it there, but you can do it right here as well too. The wires that you need to get to are right there, so if you take the cage back off, you can do it in the machine. All right, folks, so here is the solenoid driver board. So the power supply, I repinned all the connectors, and I moved that jumper to put it on 120 instead of 115. And then the next thing it does is it sends the power up here to this connector on this board. And then the 12 volts comes in, and this area turns it into 5 volts. So this is a very clean board. This thing's in nice shape. All I did was I replaced this capacitor, the filter capacitor. The old one has some miles on it. Mepco Electra. It's an 11,000 20 volt. And I replaced it with a 15,000 25 volt. You can go up a little bit on the filter cap. This section here is the display's high voltage. Everything tested all right on it. Fuse is good, but we'll see. There's not really preventative you do to this. You just replace things if they're bad. And then the solenoid drivers, all of them tested good on the bench. Now, you can't really prove something is good on the bench, but you can prove it's bad. And I couldn't find any that I could prove are bad, so I didn't have to replace any of those. And then I resoldered the connections, just in case there were some cold solder joints. They weren't that bad, but now they've got fresh solder on them. There was a couple that towards the ends that weren't making great contact, but now they are. And so I think it's ready to go back in, and then we can test the voltages coming out of it. Our main concern is if this is still creating 5 volts. If it's not, there's hardly anything there other than a couple resistors that never go bad usually, a voltage regulator, and a filter capacitor. So nice clean board. I'm going to put it back in, and then we can test the voltages on that. Okay, so this particular board in the stern is kind of one of their revised editions, so it's set up a little bit differently where the test points are and stuff, but it's actually a little bit better done. So test point 5 is the 12 volts in, which is unregulated, 14.52. And then test point 1, I believe it says, is our 5 volts out. It's right on the button, 5.02. Test point 7 down here, also 5 volts, 4.99. Test point 6, 5 volts. All right, and then the way they do the high voltage is interesting. The high voltage coming in from the transformer is test point 4 right up here, and it is a big old 243 volts. And then this rectifies it down, and test point 2 says that after it does that, it is 180 volts on the button. Perfect. So that board is working very well. 5 volts right on the button, 180 volts right on the button, and I didn't even adjust anything. So very cool. So that should be good to run our other boards. I unplugged the lamp board just in case the 5 was high. I wouldn't want it to fry anything. I actually unplugged all the displays too, just in case the 5 was high or the display voltage was high. And I unplugged the soundboard just in case the 5 volts was high. So I think this board's fine. You can see my new connector there, and I put new pins in all the other one. Cleaned up the little cover, and I was able to move that wire, like I said, to get it on 120 volt instead of 115 volt. Okay, so we got that ready, so now we need to mess with the MPU. Alright, so here is the MPU that was in it. It's got a little damage. It's been ate up a little bit. The damage has made it up to the pin of that chip. This was ground 0. Completely fixable. Alright, so I'm going to start by removing a bunch of the stuff that's damaged and getting rid of a bunch of the solder mass that has alkaline damage under it. Let's see what the back looks like. Not too shabby. A little bit going on down here, but not too bad. Alright, so I'm going to start removing stuff, and then we'll see what it looks like with a bunch of the crap knocked off of it. So this is with the solder mask, which is just barely hanging on there. Gone, and you can see the extent of it. This capacitor here was pretty bad. This capacitor is pretty bad. And that socket for the 5101 was pretty much gone. The 6810 probably would have still worked. The 6821 probably would have still worked, but that one pin might have screwed us up. There's a lot of corrosion down here too. So we've got to replace all of those. And then of course, all this stuff here basically. This stuff. But after that, it'll be pretty good. Alright. So when it's like this, it's very hard to get solder to stick to it. So you have to basically sand that crap off the back. Like if I heat that up with solder, solder's not going to stick to that. And if I heat it up, that solder that's there, the old solder, is not going to melt. Eventually it'll start burning a hole in the PCB. So what you got to do is you have to get that crap off of the surface of the solder till the solder looks shiny again, and then heat that up or add a little bit extra solder to that. So it takes a little while. I kind of enjoy it though. It's kind of fun seeing the things come back. Alright, so this is what we got. Cleaned up pretty good. This one's not in as bad of shape as the other one, but don't tell Shane that. He'll want me to swap it. One machine he's going to keep, the other one he's going to get rid of. This trace is pretty bad down here once you get everything grinded off. So we'll put a jumper or something. So what typically would happen to these back in the day is that would happen. And then the ground, you see how the ground connects to here and then to here and to here and to here and to here. But it's broke here. So this stuff wouldn't have a ground. Right? If it's connected enough on this side, then it could actually connect to it all the way around the edge if everything was still intact. But so this is a pretty good little starting point. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wash it with vinegar. Just regular vinegar. Hopefully that will neutralize any alkaline that's still eating away at it, right? And then the back, same thing. Now some of this is still kind of rough because I had to put solder on it to remove the piece and all of that, but we'll clean that up as we put it back together. So next step, lots of vinegar. Alright folks, so this is what it looks like with everything replaced. I made a little jumper, a little bridge across this with the with some cap legs or resistor legs. So that should be pretty good. So I think on this one I'll try to boot it up flash by flash just so you can see how that works basically. We had somebody asking a question the other day about the boot sequence, the flash sequence, which I've went over tons and tons of times, but we'll try booting it up and just see. So to get the first flicker, which is basically the reset circuit working, which is all of this that got damaged, to get that first flicker on the LED, basically you need the CPU, it's a 6800. You need this PIA, which is a 6821. The one that was in there, it might be alright actually. We'll try it. The 6821 here, so you need the 6800 and the 6821, and you need the first ROM, which I believe is that one, although it might be that one. I'm just going to leave both of them in. So that's all you need. So basically it's trying to, when the power comes up, the 5 volts, it wants to hold the CPU turned off. And then after a split of a second, this reset circuit will then go high. And so it will send the pin 40 on this CPU high. So it holds it low until the power stabilizes. So when the power comes on, it goes like this, right? So instead of that trying to boot while the power's doing this, it holds the CPU low, so the CPU does this, right? So it misses the. You'll never hear a better explanation of that. So that's what that is. So to get the reset to work, where you see that first flash, you need that chip, and the ROMs. That's it. And you need good power. So we'll have to check to make sure this connector, that the pins in the cabinet are not all corroded. So that's next. And that should get us our first flicker. Now, since I've got both ROMs in, it will probably give us the flicker and then one flash telling you that the ROMs are good. So it ultimately will do a flicker and 7 flashes. So the flicker is the reset, and then the first flash is all of the ROMs are good. So since I'm going to leave both of them in, it'll probably give us a flicker and the first flash. Or at least that's what we hope for. All right, folks, we have mounted it in the machine. There were some caps missing up here, too, that I forgot about. I put those back on. So we've mounted it in the machine. Again, all we got is the CPU, the PIA, and the ROMs in it. So there is a flash code. We'll see. Hopefully a flash and one, a quick flicker and then one flash. Ooh, interesting. Ooh, interesting. That's something you don't see too often. So you see the quick flicker, and then it's giving us 2 flashes, and then it's going kind of dim. See how the second flash is kind of locking on, and then it goes kind of dim? I'll show it to you again. Quick flicker, 1, 2, two's kind of weird. Okay, and it's doing it over and over again. Okay, that's really cool. So that's a false flash, people. Come on, you should know that's a false flash. I know this is confusing as hell, but if you do like 1,000 of them, eventually you figure this stuff out. So the quick flash is telling us the reset's working, that the CPU is working, this PIA is kind of working, and it's kind of even checking out the ROMs. Okay? And then the first solid flash is it's saying, okay, we did a checksum on the ROMs and everything's cool, your ROMs are good. And then it's saying, now we're going to check the RAM, and it goes to this RAM chip next that isn't even in there. And it goes, okay, we're going to run a bunch of math on the RAM, and it goes, what the hell? And it kind of blinks and screws up. So it actually gave us the second flash, although the RAM's not even in there, but it just told us that the RAM is good. So that ain't right. So this is a 6810 RAM. So it just passed the flash code. But what I'll do is let's pop that in and we'll see if it looks slightly different with the RAM chip actually installed. Okay, now this is going to confuse the hell out of you, but just remember what we just saw and then watch how it does it now if it works. Quick flash, 1 beat. There you go. That's perfect. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, what's the difference? If you've messed with a bunch of them, you can tell the difference. So there's a quick flash and then a full flash, and then it waits a little bit and then does the second flash. The reason that it waits a little bit is because it's doing a ton of math to analyze that RAM chip. It's like doing like 1 million computations or something like that. It's a whole bunch. It's a lot. It's more than 2 or 3. So it's going, let me write a 1 in this location. Now, RAM, tell me what is in location 1. And then the RAM goes, there's a 1 in location 1. And then it goes, all right, that's cool. Let me write a 1 in location 2. Now, RAM, tell me what is in location 2. And then the RAM goes, there's a 1 in location 2. And it goes, oh, correct then. And it does that like 64,000 times or something like that. So that's why it takes a little bit. It's literally writing all of this crap into RAM and then reading it back one by one. And then if it finds it's fine, it blinks a second time. But earlier it was blinking a second time anyway. But if you look, it was blinking quicker. It's just a little bit longer. The reason it takes it a little longer is because it's actually doing all that math. Earlier it was trying to do the math and then didn't know what was going on, blinked the light and died. All right, so quick, 1, 2. All right, so now it won't go to 3 because 3 is the 5101 RAM that's just below it. That's the one that saves all the high scores and stuff. So to get the third flash, you have to have it in. Okay, so now we have installed it. So we should get a quick flash and then 3 full flashes. Quick, 1, 2, 3. All right, cool. We'll try it one more time. Quick, 1, 2, 3. And notice the pause between the first one and the second one because it has to do all that math to check the 6810. Okay, so the reason we're not getting a fourth one is because it's that other PIA, the one at U10. It's not installed, so we need to install that one. Okay, so I've put U10 in, so hopefully that will give us our fourth flash. But wait, there's more. The fifth flash means that the bottom chip works, U11. So it goes back and it rechecks that. Right? Because then it uses it for the first flash, but just a little bit, like the first flicker, but just a little bit, right? It doesn't extensively test it. You're just basically seeing if it needs that chip to run the first flicker. So without that, basically it's what's turning on and off the LED, right? So without that chip being good, it won't do that. But it hasn't actually checked the chip, right? So the fourth flash is the middle U10, the middle 6821. The fifth flash is the bottom 6821. It fully checks it. The sixth flash is that little tiny 555 timer just to the right of the bottom 6821. You don't have too much trouble with that usually, but sometimes you do because it's right there in the corrosion. And then the seventh flash is it's going to look to make sure that the solenoid voltage is there. So that little 555 chip has something to do with the zero crossing, they call it. Basically I don't understand it, so I won't even try to explain it. But But the seventh chip, the seventh flash is it needs the 43 volts. So a common problem is if the solenoid fuse blows, you lose that 43 volts. So the seventh flash won't happen on the MPU, and so it'll never boot up if the solenoid fuse is blown. So if you've got a locked on Playfield coil or something, sometimes it will blow the solenoid fuse in the back box, and the MPU will never boot until you figure that out. So my whole point is we're not going to get just the fourth flash. Hopefully we'll get all the flashes since we've put all of the chips back on the board. So the fourth one would mean that the U10 is working. Fifth one would mean U11 at the bottom is working. Sixth one would mean that the little 555 next to it is working. And the seventh one would mean that our solenoid voltage is working. So let's see. Flicker, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There we go. And now look and see how the LED, you can see just a little bit of a, it's not as bright, but you can see it's got a little power to it. That's pretty common. That's how it usually looks. So basically, it looks like the thing is booting, but we don't have anything plugged in so that we can tell. However, the displays that I unplugged earlier, since we know the 5 volt is fine now and the high voltage is fine now, we can plug those back in. We can also plug in the soundboard. The lamp driver board looks a little sketchy, but we'll plug it in. So we'll basically see what's going on. Oh yeah, we got to plug these in too. Here we go. Now, this connector here, I probably need to repin because it's in the corrosion zone. I'm trying to plug it into a capacitor. That's not how it goes. Come on, people. Come on now. What are you doing? To me, this kind of stuff is really fun, seeing them come back. It's a shame that a lot of the comments lately have revealed to me that a lot of people don't care anything about that. They just want to complain about whatever they feel isn't perfect. I'm going to plug this in. I figured out last time that whenever we did that, it reforms the caps when it comes on, so it may give us like a crazy freaking noise. Player 1 and the ball in play. The hell with it. Let's go hog wild. Let's do it to it. Let's plug everything back up. We got a working board now. Oh hell yeah, let's do it. Let's just go all the way, folks. Let's see if any of this stuff will work. Now don't be surprised if it's locked up now. Did I plug everything in? I think so. Okay, so we may get loud noise out of the speaker and might blow a fuse, might have solenoids lock on, who knows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boy, she's trying. Very cool. Looks like we got some serious lamp problems on this one like we did on the previous one. But very cool. So we have brought it back to life. It's just not living much of a life. Let's see if she'll, she might fire up. Let's see here. Start button isn't working. So the reason that would be is because of this switch connector here. That's down in the corrosion zone, so those pins are probably bad on that. So I'm going to repin those real quick and we'll see if we can get the start button to work. This poor thing. Now, it's filthy, you know, the ball's all filthy probably. There's dirt all over it, so you don't want to play them like this for very long. But just for the purposes of the video, since we kind of went from zero to hero in the same video, would this be considered a hero, though? We went from not working to limping along in the same video. Let's see if she'll start. Yeah. Ooh. A lot of people would go ahead and sell it like this. Pinball machine works good. Did you ever see Todd Tuggy do the gimmick about the auction? We got some switches that ain't working, folks. Todd does this thing about the auction where if it'll light up, he says, "Oh, it's ready for the auction." He doesn't do that. He's just saying that that's what you get at the auction. Okay, so it shot out, but you know the ball lands in the thing, doesn't keep going. So we get people emailing us a lot about trying to figure out how to fix their game, just because if you know the biggest search engine in the world is Google. The second biggest search engine in the world is YouTube, which is owned by Google. So, you know, people, like if they've got a screwed up pinball machine, they might search on YouTube. So we got all kinds of people contacting us constantly because they've got a machine and they saw one of our videos. Usually they saw that we had a video, they didn't actually watch it. But we get this a lot. Oh, it works, but the ball goes down and then it won't come back out. It's a thing. It happens. So why is it doing that? It's probably more switch stuff. You can see how the solenoids weren't working, and then also the only a couple of the switches work. So it's going to be more pins on the MPU are corroded that need replaced. Like we could have the fuse blown under the playfield. I think sometimes that'll blow and the flippers still work, but the rest of the coils don't. So it's got a lot of issues. So it still needs a lot of work. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed it so far. We'll do another video where we work through the cosmetics and stuff. And if you didn't see the previous run, we did about 5 videos fixing up this other Dracula here next to it. So this is just the second one. We're just going through this one quicker because it's all exactly the same stuff that was on this one. So I hope you appreciate it. I mean, I hope you enjoyed it. We appreciate you watching. Make sure to check out my brother Donnie. My brother Donnie has his own channel here on YouTube. It's the My Brother Donnie channel. The link is down below. I'm over there with him usually on his channel. He works on old vehicles, old buildings. We're rehabilitating a mobile home. And he has a farm with cows and goats. So we have a lot of good times over there. So go check that out, and we will see you on the next video.